everyone, it's Tracy at For the Love of Stamping. Welcome to my craft room. Today I'm going to show you this fun fold card called a theater card. Now this is not a new fancy fold card, it's just one that I've been holding off on creating until I found the right stamp die bundle to create it with. Theater card opens up with two pull tabs that reveal a sentiment or an image or something else inside the card. And if you stand the card up this way, you can see that it actually is a 3D type of fold. I'm going to show you all the things that you need to make this card, but like I said, I've been holding off on creating this one because I really didn't know what I wanted to use in order to do the card. I've seen all kinds of beautiful things out there, but when I got my hands on the Welcoming Window stamp die bundle that's in our January to June mini catalog, I was quite excited because I thought right away this is what I'm going to use to make this card. So this is a stamp die bundle, multiple images, lots of little sentiments, and the coordinating window flower box dies that die cut a lot of the images that you see in the stamp set. So you've got your shutters, there's the window frames, the shelves, some different sort of flower pots, the watering bays, and a few others. So making this card is not difficult, but this card requires a lot of die cutting, and I'm just going to run through all the things that I needed to do for this card so that I'm not going to do it during the video, taking up extra time, okay? So let's start off with what you need. You're going to start off with a piece of cardstock. Ours is the Early Espresso, which is 8.5 by 11, and I'm going to show you how you're going to cut this to be able to create your theater card. From there, let's get into some of the other pieces. So you've got your 8.5 by 11. You're going to use the stitched rectangle dies, and these are the 5th and 6th largest rectangles in the package, coming from the center outwards. And we use those two to create the frame, and that goes on the front of your theater card. You'll use the 5th stitched rectangle to create the opening for the windows. So I'll show you that. Then you're going to have one piece of the In Good Taste Designer Series paper. This measures 4 1/4 by 4. You're going to have two other pieces of the same that measures 2.5 by 3 3/4. We're going to cut two strips here that are going to be used to create what I'm going to call a pocket in order for us to be able to feed our slider panels through. So these measure 5.5 by 3/4, and I've scored them on each end at 5/8 of an inch. And then we have the piece that goes in the middle of our card on the inside, which is the Whisper White, and it's been cut at 2 3/4 by 4 inches. And then I ran it through my die cutting machine with the Subtles embossing folder, and one more little stitched rectangle in white cardstock. And that's what we're gonna use to stamp our greeting and the little bricks in the background, which you may not be able to see at the moment, but you will when I do the card. For all of the pieces that I've used, all of the die cut images that you're going to need out of the flowering pots dies, I've cut them out ahead of time. So one large pot and one watering vase, both done in crumb cake, as well as two shelves, also done in die cut in crumb cake. I've stamped and die cut two of the large floral bouquets in Granny Apple and Magenta Madness, and I ran that through the die cutting machine. And then I did one more of the same, but only this time, instead of using Magenta Madness, I've used Mango Melody. And then the smaller one here is the same colors, which is again Granny Apple Green and Mango Melody. To do the little frames that you see on the front of your card or inside, you're going to die cut two of the frames in white. You'll die cut two of the panels here that are your shutter panels. Now this comes in one die and it gives you the two pieces, so you need to run it through twice because you're going to then adhere those together and adhere them to the back of the white frame to give you this. So ultimately you'll end up with two of these. And then these here, I've just taken a piece of the black cardstock, ran it through with the shutters one time to create the two pieces that are going to go on the outer edge that you see on the card here. Okay, so that's our little shutters on the outside edge. So those are all your pieces. Let's get started on the cutting. Like I said, you only need one piece of cardstock, and I'll show you all the cutting that we're going to do on this. And it's very, very easy. So grab your paper trimmer and take your cardstock, put it portrait, and cut it in half at 4 1/4 inches. So right in the middle here. Set this piece aside for a second and take this one and shift it over to the 4 inches and trim off this 1/4 inch piece, leaving you with a piece that is now 4 inches by 11 and the 4 1/4 by 11. Both of these pieces need to be cut on the landscape in half at 5 1/2. So we'll cut that one at 5 1/2. And this one at 5 1/2. That now gives you 4 pieces, 4 rectangles, 2 that measure 5 1/2 by 4 1/4, and 2 that measure 5 1/2 by 4. Set the 2 that are 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 aside, and we're going to use these 2 pieces here. Now again, these measure 5 1/2 by 4. And I need you to do some more scoring with this. So let's move the cutting blade out of the way, place the cardstock in horizontally, and score this in half, which is at 2 3/4. Okay, we'll score that this way, and then slide it over and score it one more time at 1 1/4. Okay, set that one aside, and we'll do the exact same thing on the other one. Again, this is the 5 1/2 by 4 inches. So we're going to slide this in and score it at 2 3/4, and then move it over to the 1 1/4 and score it again. All right, that's all we need to do with that. Grab your bone folder and fold your first one in half. Burnish it down with your bone folder, and then fold it one more time on the 1 1/4 inch. So what you end up with is a piece that looks like this. Okay, do the exact same thing with the other one. Fold it in half on the 2 3/4 inch line, and then again on the 1 1/4 inch line. All right, so these pieces are going to go into your card this way, and then they'll meet in the middle when it closes. But for now, we're just going to grab one of the 2 pieces that measures 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. We'll grab some Tombow glue, and we'll go ahead and we'll adhere those down. Now remember, this is 4 inches wide, this is 4 1/4. So when you line these up to adhere it down, you should have a 1/8 of an inch on each side of the 4 inch. So our adhesive is going to go on the small panel right on the back here. So I'll just open this up. Grab my Tombow. It's already starting to leak out on me. And we will just put our adhesive down. Okay. And lie this piece horizontally. Actually I'm going to do it this way for the sake of the video, just to make it easier so I can see. We're just going to lie this right on the edge like so. And with the Tombow, it's nice because you can then pick it up and just swish it or move it around a little bit just to make sure that we're even top to bottom and it's flush with this edge here. All right, so that piece will dry in place. And now we're going to repeat this using the other panel and adhere it to that section. Take your Tombow, lube it up. And line up with the edge. And then pick up your card and make sure that you're aligned. Now, the nice thing about this is once you've done this, close it down, make sure that you're aligned here and that the seams meet in the center. And with the Tombow, it gives you that extra couple of seconds to be able to move that around a little bit, like so. All right. Let's go ahead and put the 2 pieces of designer series paper on the front here. So this again is In Good Taste. They were 2 pieces that measured 2.5 by 3 3/4. And you'll notice when I cut this, I intentionally cut it so that they would match, because we're going to split them onto the front of this panel, but I wanted them to match when the card was closed. So we will adhere those like so. Okay, grab your Tombow and put a nice little bit of adhesive across the back of the first piece of DSP and line it up. Again, 1/4 inch smaller. You want to make sure that you are even all the way around and that it's nice and straight. Okay, so that's my first one. And again, it's that rule, you know, you measure twice, cut once. Well, this is, before you adhere it, you know, set it up twice before you get the glue on the back. So we'll just run some Tombow across the back, like so, without sticking my finger in it. Turn it this way, line it up, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm aligned not only top to bottom, left to right sort of thing, but that these edges here are also aligned with each other. You want it to be nice and straight. All right, so that piece is done. That's good. Okay, let's set that aside for a time being. I am going to show you what you need to do with this piece here. I'm going to talk about it, but I've already done it. So you take the other piece of Early Espresso, which was your 5.5 by 4 1/4, and you're going to adhere this piece of designer series paper to the front of it. Now, little trick, when you're adhering this, because we're going to be cutting the opening in here, I'd like to be able to reuse this paper here. So I'm only going to line up adhesive around the edge so that when I die cut it, the pieces that pop out aren't stuck to each other and I can use it for something else. So pretend that I did that, and this is what you get. So you've got your center piece already cut out and ready to be framed. So I'm going to grab the little frame that I made using the 5th and 6th stitched rectangle dies, and we're going to adhere that to this opening, and that just creates like a nice little framed window for us. So I'll use my Tombow once again and just start to dab the Tombow on the back of this frame, and then I'll place it down. Okay. Don't want to get that all over my fingers, which I probably just did anyways. Okay. Flip it over and just place it in that opening. Give it a quick touch, flip it over, make sure that it's aligned. Like so. There we go. All right. So this piece ultimately goes on the front like this. Now, we're going to take these 2 little pieces that I'm calling my pocket holder, for lack of a better term. And like I said, these were cut at 5.5 by 3/4, and I've scored them at 5/8 of an inch. And they're going to go on the back side of this panel. So we're going to flip those inside like so, tuck them in, and we're going to adhere it straight down. And we'll do one on each end of this. Okay, so grab your Tombow once again, put a nice bead of Tombow across the surface of those 2 sections. Pick up your frame and align this along that outer edge of the card front. Okay, and just hold it until it stays in place like so. Flip it around, grab your other one, do the exact same thing on the other end. Okay, tuck you in, fold you down, and same with this one, like so. Okay, so it's tucked inside the back of the card front, and it's just slightly bigger than the width of this. And I'll show you how you're going to feed it through once that's dry. Just give me 1 second. I'm just going to grab a circle punch so that we can cut out the openings. If you have a 1-inch circle punch, that's what I would suggest you use for this. Could have probably done this beforehand, but that's okay. We don't need to worry if I haven't got it done ahead of time. So just to give you a visual here, what ends up happening is these ends feed through these two little pockets. So you would take this one, I'll just show you now, and then I'll cut my little semicircles on the ends there. So you see how this will just feed in here, like so. Feed it all the way through. Flip it around. And do the same with this one. Oh, popped out on me. Try that again. Feed it in. Like that. And then this one tucks in here, like so. All right, just like that. So there, that's how you create this little fold. So we need to cut a couple of little openings here just so we have a place to grab it. And like I said, we can use the 1-inch circle punch to do that. So let me take this apart. And I'm going to grab a ruler here. I want to try to get these as close to center as I can. I'll grab a little pencil. So this measures 5.5. So this measures 4 1/4. So I'm going to measure about 1 1/8. Just put a pencil mark there. That marks the center of where I'm going to punch. And I'll do the same on the other end. Grab my ruler and just take this and mark that at 2 1/8. And not to worry because you're cutting that away, so you're not going to see it, right? Now the trick is you don't want to cut this, so you're going to feed this through like so. Okay, so just now eyeball it. Make sure that when you're punching this out, you don't cut your frame, but get it in far enough so that you give yourself a big enough finger opening, for lack of better terminology. And then once you've laid it in there, punch that piece away. Okay, do the same on the other side. We're gonna open it up, tuck it right inside like so, and now center the best that you can by eyeballing it. That means that these two will be in this relatively in the same place, at least hopefully they are. And then punch it out. I'm just gonna come in a little bit more. There we go. There we go. So now I have a spot to place my fingers in order to pull out the little frames. The little panels, I guess I should call them. All right, let's adhere the center before we do all of the assembly. This piece here is just gonna go right into the middle like so. So one more time, grab your Tombow and adhere that to that center panel. I think this Subtles embossing folder is probably one of my go-tos, and now that they've come out with the painted textured embossing folder in the mini catalog, that's also one of my go-tos. It's beautiful. So that just makes it look like, you know, there's some texture in the background, looks like a little wall, if you will. Now I'm going to grab the pieces that I die cut earlier. So we need our two little shelves. They're going to go here. We're going to need to grab the some tweezers, or I'm going to just get a little paper piercer here to pick that up. So we'll need one of the flower pots, plus we have the little watering jug. We need one of, actually I'm going to go with the, I think I just, I'm looking at our card here. We have the, yeah, so we've got the large mango up top and a large magenta on the bottom. Okay, so we'll use those ones. I just taped this down with some repositionable tape, just so that when I was doing this, it wouldn't be all over the place. Okay, and then the yellow one. Okay, and before you put down your shelves, I'm going to get you to adhere the floral bouquet first onto the pots, because that will then help you determine where you're going to put the shelf. And because you don't want your bouquets hanging outside of the card. So let's do that first. Okay, so we'll just take the little yellow one, and using some Tombow, I'm just going to adhere it like so. All right, so you can see how much I'm covering. So about half of my pot will get adhesive. And then the little bouquet sits right on top of that. Okay, so that's the first one. Then we'll take the watering can or the watering jug, and we'll do the same thing. So we'll do this, we'll flip it over. We can see we're doing about that much with adhesive. And then just adhere this one right to the front. All right, like that. Okay, so I'll set that aside for a second, let it stay in place, and grab my shelf, one of my shelves, and my first flower pot, and start to lay this down and figure out where I'm going to place my shelf. So we can see if I have my shelf about there, then my first flower pot will be within the card. So what I'll do is I'll leave the shelf in place, I'll grab my Tombow, and I will stick the flowers and the flower pot down first. And then I'll adhere the shelf, making sure that I get it straight. We don't need a crooked shelf. All right, and some adhesive on the back of the shelf. And line it up under the flower pot, and so that it aligns with the edge of the Whisper White. All right, let's now grab my second one and do the same sort of steps, figuring out where this one's gonna go. So I'll probably just bring it in a bit so that it doesn't interfere with the bottom of the shelf. And this one I can put the shelf down first, because I'm going to line the bottom edges here up with the bottom of the white. Okay, and again making sure it goes right to the edge of the white at the bottom and on the right hand side. And while that starts to set, we'll put the Tombow on the back of this one and place it right down here, like so. Okay, so there's the inside of the card already done. We'll set that aside just to stick in place so that it gets nice and stuck. I'm just gonna get that adhesive off. I got a little bit of adhesive on my watering can. There we go. I don't want my card to stick when I close it. So that closes like that. And you see I could have come down just a bit more with this one, but not to worry, because when I put the frame over the top, I won't see it, okay? Okay, now the next piece of what we need to do is we're going to sort of line these guys up like this. And if you have a clip or something to hold it closed, it would probably be the best thing to do. So I've got one here. Just going to line these up. I'm going to put a clip on it. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want these to be in place, because I'm going to use this as my guide as to where I'm sitting my frames and my windows. So let's grab our window frames. Like I said, I have one done already. The other one, I'll just quickly show you how to put this together. Get rid of this adhesive. I'm going to use a little bit of Scotch tape for this. It's probably the easiest way to put this together. So let's move that up here. So you have these two. See, on one side it's got this nice texture, and on the other side it's just where I ran it through, there's no texture. So we'll grab a piece of Scotch tape just to hold these two together. Just makes it easier for us to then adhere to the white frame. So we'll just put that right down the center, like so. Make sure they're aligned. If they're a little bit off, it's not the end of the world, because the frame will cover over a bunch of the seam. So flip it back over and take your frame and lay it right on top like so. So again, back with our Tombow. All around the frame. Okay, now just lay that right on top of the shutters, like so. And then give it a little squeeze to hold it in place. And just keep playing with it just to make sure that you've got it, the gray covered. Okay, perfect. Okay, so the reason why, again, I said I wanted this to be closed is because when I'm adhering these down, I want these to be centered top to bottom. Okay, so we're going to just adhere these straight down with Tombow, and they're going to meet in the middle where the center folds meet. Okay, so it makes it look like one window until you open it. So just with some Tombow, we'll quickly adhere those down. Start with the first one. Start with the one on the right. And then we'll place it along that center fold. And just have a quick look to see that it's straight. Okay, good. And the same with the other one. And have them meet in the middle. And then just, I like to turn it this way because I'm making sure that they're aligned. Okay. All right, so that's good. Now they're nice, they're stuck. You're gonna have to take your clip off, and we're gonna put our shutters on the outside of the windows. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't know which way the shutters are supposed to go. If they're supposed to go this way, because when they fold in, or if it looks better this way, to each his own. I like it like this because it kind of finishes off the same edge. The other ways look backwards, and since I only have one on each side, made sense to me. But you choose on how you want to put the black shutters on the front of your card. So it just lines up, tuck it right in next to your window, and you'll notice there's a tiny, tiny bit of edge here where it doesn't meet, but that's because of the way the die has been done or cut. Sorry, not the die, the paper through the die. And then this one can go on the other side. Again, squeeze it right in next to the window frame. All right, almost done. Now, we need to just do our greeting that's going to go on the front, which is this cute little sending sunshines for a beautiful birthday. And then the two other pieces that we had already, or I had already stamped and die cut. So I'll grab those pieces. I need the little frame that I cut and the other flower bouquet. All right, so again, I've used the stitched rectangle dies for this, and I'm going to start with the stamping on here. I'm just going to grab a little scrap of paper to put in behind. Actually, I can just use my little mat. Just use this. All right, okay. We're going to use out of the stamp set, out of the welcome wing window, there's this cute little brick stamp and the greeting. So the bricks we're going to stamp in Sahara sand across that back, that white, and then we'll stamp the greeting in memento. So I'll ink this up and I'll stamp randomly in a couple of spots. I'll stamp one there, just to give it a little bit of color in behind. Another one there, and one more right here. All right, okay, then we'll close that one up, grab the memento, and we'll ink up our greeting. Sometimes I find the photopolymer takes a little bit of extra pushing on the ink pad to pick up all of the ink. So don't be shy when you're trying to ink it up. Then line it up into that rectangle and push it down and hold it for a couple of seconds, because I find the longer you hold it, the better that ink transfers onto the cardstock. Giving it a little push, and there we go. There's our little greeting. So cute. Okay. And then just to finish off that, we will grab our little frame. Making sure I've got it going the correct way. And we will adhere the pink one in behind, just like like this. And then I'll take my yellow one and I'll adhere that one in here. Okay, so we'll start with the pink one first. I think I'll just put a little bit of Tombow right there. I don't want to get adhesive all over, because it'll interfere with the card and you won't be able to open it. Tombow's not playing ball with me today. There we go. Starting to get adhesive all over my fingers, which never is a good thing, but this is probably going to come out in a great big glob in about 2 seconds. So give me 1 second while I play with the edge of it here. Again, making sure that I'm putting the adhesive on the right spot. Aha, see, it's giving me a really hard time. Okay, you know what? Grab another one. When all else fails, grab a different one. Ah, look at that. Magic. Okay. We'll retire the other one. Okay, so again, just come in here, place it so that it just kind of, this piece tucks in a little bit behind your greeting, and this one here sticks just above the eye on Sunshine. Okay, so let's just hold that for 1 or 2 seconds. I'm just going to clean this up because I don't want the adhesive on it. So I'll just take a piece of scrap cardstock and wipe that off. And we'll grab our other little flower, paying attention to where it's going to go on the front. And then this one we'll tuck in behind like so. Okay, and so it's just going to lay right on your card like this. So it's probably best to kind of place this piece down to give yourself a guide, because again, you don't want these little flowers running off the edge. So we're just going to put a little bit of Tombow right there. and tuck it right in behind. Okay. Oops, picked it up too quick. Okay. And if you're a little worried that that's going to come apart, Scotch tape is your friend. Tape them together. There. That holds everybody in place. All right. So then, again, this is going to go on the front. And so this piece, we're just going to adhere to this bottom left corner. So again, you only want to make sure you get Tombow in certain places. So it's going to sort of be an L shape, if you will. So just to be safe, I'm just going to put a little bit this way and a little bit this way. I can always come in later if I need to add more, but makes it tricky to take it off if you've, put it down already. Okay. And it'll stay right there. All right. Now all that's left to do is to place the card inside those little pockets. Once this Tombow has set, I'll do that. So I'm just going to give it a little squeeze. Okay. All right. So take one end and feed it through. Pull it through. Grab the other end and do the same thing. Feed it through. Like so. There we go. And you can close your card down. Oops, there we go. Just like so. And there you have it. You have this adorable little theater card that you can give to anybody as a little birthday card, or if you wanted to do a Mother's Day card. There's different greetings that come with the welcoming window set. There's Mother's Day, there's thank you, there's my friend, there's a welcome stamp. And for you to write on your message, you can just put a piece of Whisper White or even Very Vanilla, whatever you prefer, on the back, and you've got this whole section to be able to write your message and add another sentiment before you send out your card. There you have it. I hope you've enjoyed my theater card and using the Welcoming Window bundle. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. It's Tracy at For the Love of Stamping. All of the measurements will be listed in the description below the video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.